Welcome to the Music Production Podcast. This is Brian Funk. I make music as AfroDJMac, and today I am talking with Laura Escudé. How you doing, Laura?
I'm doing great. How are you,
Oh,
Brian?
I'm doing well. Hello again. And
Hello.
let's see. How do we tell everyone who you are? Because you've got a lot of stuff going on in a lot of different areas. What do you
Eh,
suppose someone approaches you and asks you what you do? How do you answer that?
Uh, I'm a music producer, controllerist, and a CEO of a music production live performance company called Electronic Creatives. So I produce music as Alux, and my company is Electronic Creatives.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you've been pretty busy lately. Bouncing around different parts of the world, right?
Not
Country at
as
least.
much, not as much as I did for a while. Like I toured heavily for a number of years, and now I'm kind of been focused more on the company and my own artistic stuff. So I don't tour or travel as much as I used to, but I was just at the Grammys. So I
Hmm.
got back from there a couple of days ago. So yeah, that was interesting and fun.
Yeah, so anyone that's listening, I'm sure, has heard of many of your clients and the people that you work with. Um, uh, who were you working with at the Grammys?
So one of my artists, Logic, was
Mm.
performing, and he was actually up for 2 Grammys. He didn't win either of them, but that's okay. He had an amazing performance there, and we were really proud of him. So one of the people that I trained for my company is actually on the road with him full time or close to full time. So I was just going to the Grammys to just kind of oversee things and to make everyone feel comfortable, since it was the first time that he was at the Grammys, and was the first time my person was at the Grammys as well. So it was just kind of like helping everyone feel comfortable and showing them the ropes kind of thing. So it was
Right.
good.
So you're,
I've
you're a Grammy veteran, I guess.
been there, been there a few times.
Yeah. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Logic, I teach high school English, so I'm around like the kids a
Ah,
lot, and he's so huge with them right now. He's like, it's a pretty amazing like how much he's kind of like permeated their culture, you know.
yeah.
With and I've had students write about his lyrics quite a few times now. So yeah, he's
Oh,
doing
that's
good stuff.
great.
Yeah, it's nice to
Yeah.
see like and the kids appreciate it too. That like his message is not just like I'm making money, look at all my cars, and I'm throwing cash on the hotel bed kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's one of the reasons why I decided to work with him, because been in this industry for a long time, and I've worked with a lot of different people. But a couple of years ago, I just decided I want to work with people that I really respect their music, they respect me, what I'm doing, and there's a synergy, and it's beyond just like I'm going to hire you to do this job. It's like I'm going to hire you because I like who you are as a person and what your company's doing, and that's the kind of synergy that I felt with Logic. When I first met him, it was last summer, and I went in and had a meeting with him and his team, and immediately just like the amount of respect that he gave me was immense. He looks you in the eye, he says, "Thank you very much for being here. I
Mm.
totally, respect your ideas. What do you want to bring to the table?" And it's just so refreshing to work with artists like that just want to collaborate, and they want you to bring your ideas in, and it's just a different synergy. Not every artist is like that, and so that's a really great thing about working with him. And I mean, even at the Grammys, he's just like, "Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you." But I'm like, wow, like this is incredible. I want to only work with artists like this, the
Yeah.
artists that really like see you and appreciate you. So that part is cool. And then also his music and his story, like he came from Section 8 housing, and his parents were on drugs, and he was physically abused, and just like a lot of just dark stuff happened to him as a young child, and he really pulled through all of that, and he's become very successful. And he's, with his song, the 1-800 song that was nominated, he's really bringing to light some of these issues that aren't necessarily like rainbows and butterflies. A lot of people are struggling with mental health, and suicide rates are high, and it's very much something that needs to be talked about. And I applaud him for being able to bring that to the masses in a way that's tasteful and just positive. And And I think a lot of people, especially young people like your students, are seeing that now. And it just, it warms my heart to see it. It really does. I think we need more artists like him out there. And to see him, at the Grammys on that stage, just bringing these suicide survivors on stage with him, like literally like embodying the song, and
Mm.
bringing these people, and you know just the camaraderie that I saw there, and just like the support that people are giving each other, it really like it's just incredible. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that the kids are picking up on, and it's been pretty cool. That song in particular is one they've been writing about, and I've gotten students that are, don't want to do anything at all in my class, getting into that
Yeah.
assignment when they're kind of taking apart his song and evaluating the lyrics, applying it to their life, whether or not they've been through the exact same things, they still kind of relate to that like overcoming hardship idea and
Yeah.
the supporting each other stuff. So it's nice, believe me, like when that happens, when there's a student that you have such difficulties to get to do anything, and then suddenly you see him kind of like open up and like kind of blossom. That's a pretty cool thing to see happen. And if I had a formula on how to make that happen every time, it'd be great.
Right. Definitely. Oh, definitely. I mean, I think the thing also with Logic is that he is just being really authentic,
Yeah.
and more so over the years. Like I went back and watched some of his older stuff, and I didn't connect with it as much. And, because he was just growing into himself as an artist and what he was saying. And, I think especially with this last album, he was like, I'm biracial, like I'm, have anxiety problems sometimes, I came from this background, like I'm just going to lay it all out there for everyone, and, see what happens. And not everyone could do that. Like you were saying before, alluding to a lot of the other, you know, urban music out there that's talking about fancy cars and watches and women and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it's definitely just very different from that world. And, I understand that stuff in a way. I mean, I don't in another way, but I do, because that's their culture and that's where they've come from, and they're taught to pride these things. And, it's very important for them. Um, but this other way of looking at it, and this other way of dealing with issues and bringing them out to light, I think is just so much more interesting for the time that we are in as a society, especially the wake of everything that's been going on at the political climate. But anyway.
Well, the authenticity is what I think rings true, and all of these students I work with, they're finding themselves, they're figuring out who they are in a tough environment, no less, to be doing it. High school's brutal. I wouldn't trade places with any of them, to go through that
Mhm.
again. But
Right. Yeah.
it's like you do see like a lot of people like kind of relate to the music that's like we were talking about. It's like kind of more like about image. I'm tough, I'm this, I'm that. But when they get something that's more authentic and more real and like actually speaks to what they're going through and who they are, they really connect with that. And I think that their appreciation of it is much more real than it is otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool. Um, I think that sort of ties into something else you were working on with the retreat, the transmute, right? Transmute retreat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have, I have my company, Electronic Creatives, and people that are listening that don't know me or what I do, which is probably like a lot of you. Um, EC works with artists like Logic, and we build the music and the music tech for their live shows. So we're responsible for all the music playback in the background of their shows, vocal effects. So we were at the Grammys doing vocal effects with Logic, and we built these like rigs and MIDI systems and stuff for different artists. So there's that side of what I do. And I work with a lot of different people and train them and kind of get them up to speed. With this world. But then I also have this other side, which is my Alux music side, which is kind of more well, it's more artist driven. But then there's this kind of gray area in the middle here where it's kind of, I've been trying to figure out if it's EC or if it's Alux. It's kind of both, but it's and it's came in the form of this transmute retreat that I did in Florida in December. And I just had this idea. I went to this retreat that my friend did at this beautiful place called the Atlantic Center for the Arts in Florida a year ago or 2 Decembers ago. And it was an arts and wellness retreat and nothing about music, just, arts, wellness. We did like painting and collaging and, writing and just lots of yoga and meditation and just straight chilling for, I think it
Hmm.
was like a mini retreat. It was like 2 or 3 days. So I just fell in love with this space and the people there. And I just on the spot, I said, I want to do something here. Like, I want to do something next year. And I had this idea to do a retreat for live performers and incorporate the health and wellness aspect too. So that's how Transmute was born. And I spent the better part of last year putting it together and the ideas and it's like taking form what this idea was. And it turned out to be really beautiful. We had 8 people there, and then we had a few other people from my team that were there as well, helping out. And um, I think it was. I mean, I hate to be like it was transformational, but I think it was. I think it was transformational. I mean, it was such an amazing time, and because we didn't know what it was at the beginning, I feel like a lot of people were like interested in coming, but they weren't sure because I didn't have any videos to be like, "Hey, this is what this is." It was like, "Here's this idea of something that I'm going to do." I don't have a video of what it is, but you should come. But the
Hmm.
8 people that I picked, because I chose and I curated the people, very very carefully. Those people that I picked, I felt like, okay, they're gonna get in there. They're gonna like make the most of it. They're gonna just vibe with us. It's all based on vibe. It's just like who's gonna work well together. Who's gonna come in and vibe with each other and just be positive and like help each other. So those people that came in, we ended up the first day. It was just like everyone's awkward. Like, what is this? It's like
Sure.
it's like
Yeah.
summer camp, but
Yeah.
it's like summer camp for adults. And everyone's like, there was a mixer, the first day, and it was like kind of weird. And everyone's like, hey, what's up? And then the second day, it was kind of like, oh, what? So what do you do? Like, oh, I do this, and everyone was just like had such different like coming from such different places artistically. There was like a performance artist, it was like a rock and roller, there was a Luna from Aluna George, she's a fairly well-known artist that was there. She's a singer. There's a bunch of just like amazing. There's a woman, Shauna, that used to play with Four Non Blondes there. She plays guitar. Just so eclectic. Like it was just like a really eclectic and beautiful group. And by the third day, I think everyone was best friends. And by the sixth day, no one wanted to leave.
Hmm.
So it was really like, it was just, I used to be really into summer camp and go to music camp and all that kind of stuff. And I really wanted to bring elements of that to this, but also with this holistic, like wellness component to it. Because as I've gotten older and I've been through the ringer with touring, and, when I met you, I was touring with Kanye and, I'd done that for like so many years. And, while it was exciting and fun, it was also just very hard on the body and hard on the psyche and all that kind of stuff. So, I really wanted to bring this element of wellness to this retreat. So it wasn't about like, oh, we're just gonna like party. And we did our own version of partying, and that was doing yoga every morning, meditating,
Grown up
and
partying.
then grown up partying. We were adulting very hard there. But we started that out every morning with that, and then we went into a session. We had this beautiful room where I would do presentations, and my assistant AJ would do presentations, and then we'd have lunch, and then everyone would have time to work on their own, and we would kind of pop in and help them with their projects, and then they would collaborate on stuff. And then there was just like other different kinds of workshops on like visualization and setting intentions, and lots of good food. We had an amazing chef there, and it's just a beautiful space and location. And so yeah, we were there for 6 days, and it was incredible. And on the last evening, everyone performed. So the whole time it was working up to these final performances. So every day, people listened to me lecture and listened to me show things and worked on their stuff and practiced. And then it was really ambitious at first. I was like, okay, everyone's going to do like a 20-minute set on the last day. But then we realized, okay, if every person does a 20-minute set, we're going to be here like all day. So then I was like, okay, everyone do one song. And so that was great because we just like, narrowed it down. We didn't make it too crazy for everyone because a lot of people, people were at different levels. Some people already had like a big show and then other
Right.
people didn't. So it's just kind of made it, an even playing field for people. And then we just really just honed in on the things that they wanted to do. And yeah, and it was great. We just had the last show, and we were still like a lot of people didn't know each other, so we were kind of like, what is this person going to do? We have no idea. Like, and we were just surprised by people like the performance artist Kim. Like, she came out and she had enlisted two of the other people, and they had like masks on, and like it just turned into this whole like theatrical performance, and it was just like so engaging and like interesting. And then there were a couple of singers there that had never performed with electronics or with Ableton or with controllers and or looping, and I helped them, set up a looping thing for their vocals. And so it was just really great to see the looks on their faces and to see like, oh my gosh, I'm really doing this. I'm really up here. I'm really like leveling up my performance. And I think we all made friends for life. I mean, it was just such a deep experience to be there for that amount of time with all these people. So yeah, and it's happening again this December.
Nice.
So yeah, as the last day of the retreat, the center said, "So do you want to lock in these dates for next year? Because we have someone asking about the dates." And I said, "Sure, let's do it." Yeah, so it's actually gonna be 7 days next year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we added a day on. Yeah,
So
so
part two.
I haven't started like marketing it yet because I just got done with the first one. I'm
Hmm.
actually marketing another thing, which I'm going to tell you about. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll probably start in a few months. But if anyone who's listening is interested, they can just email me info@aluxmusic.com and get some more info there. So we can put you on our mailing list. Yeah.
Nice.
So like I mentioned, like I said, that's kind of like the bridge between, what I do as Alux and what I do with electronic creatives, because it's a little bit different. Like what I do as Alux as an artist is I do multimedia performances. I play violin and do vocals and looping and controllerism and all that kind of stuff. And, I've been doing it for a while. And with electronic creatives, most of our clients are just artists that don't really they don't care what we're doing. They don't care about the controllers or the software. They just want us to do it for them. So it's like that it's a different world because most people that are artists that the ones that came to the retreat, they actually do want to know how to do it themselves. So it's a little bit of crossover because it's like we're helping people, where the,
Hmm.
the whole goal is to help people and to like inspire them and, get them kind of going in whatever way. But so it's been interesting because I'm like, is this Alux? Not really, because Alux is a performer, musician, artist, but it's not really electronic creative. So I think, I don't want to start like a whole other brand. So
Yeah.
it kind of lives somewhere in there. And yeah, it's cool. So yeah, that was a retreat.
That's nice. And I think it's an important thing to, like, especially in music, it's like you got to work your ass off. You got to really be at it and going. And
Yeah.
it's easy to forget about yourself and, the vehicle, your body that you're living in. That is,
Oh
once
my God.
that breaks down, you got nothing. You can't do your work. And I think, it's probably, I guess it's maybe just a cultural thing where we really do like, emphasize and value hard work and doing these long hours, long days, long
Hmm.
nights, but it's not always the best thing for you and for your work. And sometimes stopping, taking some time, and just um, giving your mind, your body, the attention it needs is so important. Those
Absolutely.
types of things in my life are, the things that keep me balanced, that allow me
Mhm.
to do all that stuff that I do. Without that, I mean, if I miss out on workouts, or I'm just too heavy into whatever work I'm doing, I feel it, and I see like my moods change, and it's really important to you know pay attention to that. So it's a nice,
Absolutely.
it's a good lesson, I think, for people, because as much as like the hustle is a really good thing to have, it's also important to realize like you have to kind of recharge the system too.
Absolutely. No, I definitely learned that the hard way. And, a few years ago, I just like ran myself into the ground and I ended up in the hospital. And I just like, I had some sort of reaction to something that I ate. And I think it was really just like a wake up call for me because it wasn't like, um, something that I think it was just the universe or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever you believe in, higher power telling me like you need to slow down. Um, and it was temporary, but it was enough to be like, oh, you're not gonna work. You're gonna like lay here and you're gonna recover and you're gonna take your time. And through that, I quit drinking and just totally like changed my lifestyle. And it wasn't like a huge partier before, but like definitely tour life, there is that. And through getting sick, I just really decided it was just like the wake up call that I needed. I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to feel bad the next day when I wake up. Like, I want to feel good. I want to like be productive. I want to do all this stuff. Like, I need to take care of my mental space. I need to shield myself from some of the negativity and things that I dealt with on the road. I just got so used to dealing with some of the energies and stuff like that. And there are a lot of amazing people, but then there are also those people that you just don't want to be around.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that for me was important. And through the retreat, I decided, what, I'm gonna bring some of these tools that I've been using to stay healthy and to keep up with everything and be on top of my game to this retreat. And I didn't know if it was going to work because I was like, does anyone else want this stuff too? But I think more and more people were like, wow, like this is what we need, like in order to do all the music stuff and like do our own tours even, or just to like be out there and active. Like it's a lot of energy, and you have to really protect your energy by these practices. And it's really been important for me. So that was a lot of, it was also for me, like I created the retreat for me because I was like, this doesn't exist. And I want to go to a retreat like this.
Hmm.
And I want to be doing yoga and meditation and like geeking out on music software and tech and all that kind of stuff. And like, where can I go do this? So
That's usually
I,
the root of a good idea, right? If it serves you, there's probably enough people out there that have that same desire to make it a real thing
yeah,
for you.
yeah,
Nice.
definitely. Yeah.
Sounds
So
like a good
that,
success.
yeah, yeah, it really was. It really was. So yeah, I guess I should probably tell you about this other kind of thing that I've been working on, because it's the next thing that's coming up. And um so I did the retreat and I told myself, okay, I'm going to wait to start working on the retreat again for a few months because I have this other project related to EC that I'm getting off the ground. So the program's called Master Track, and it's going to be a 2-week program in LA in March, March 12th through the 23rd. And we just have had a soft launch, but next week, well, I don't know when this is going to be out there in the world, but um,
Soon.
February 5th, February 5th is when we're going to kind of announce it. Um, so you could find information through the Electronic Creatives website. Um, but essentially what it is it's going to be a training program for music programmers and music techs that want to do the work that we're doing with the artists that we're working with, like Logic, like The Weeknd, like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, like Charlie XCX, and some of these artists that we work with. And throughout the years, I've trained people kind of one on one, and that was awesome. And I just decided, you know what, it would be really smart to get everyone in a room together and then train them all. So the idea is it's a course um, to prepare people to go on tour doing these jobs. And there is the potential, like if there are some standout people that I might be able to hire them through my company. But if not, if I can't promise anything, obviously, because work just kind of comes up and pops up sporadically. But if not, it really prepares them to do this work if they want to. So it's really for people that already have a good Ableton Live knowledge. They're kind of, they could be intermediate to advanced. There are, there's different things that go into doing this work and different elements. And like throughout the years, I've worked with different people who have like a little bit more of this and a little bit more of this. And I've kind of like worked with them to like level up the things that they didn't have. So it's definitely for people that are musically inclined, that know Ableton Live, that want to tour, that are technical, and are just good people and like fun to be around and good communicators and all that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, I've built up my team to about 10 people now, and we're doing all different kinds of tours, and it's been great. And the demand has been so high. Like last year, we turned down a bunch of work just because we don't have uh, the people. And so yeah, so the idea is to do an in-person course, music programming course, and have everyone kind of come nerd out, almost like kind of like the retreat, but for a different audience.
Mhm.
So with the retreat being, the artists that want to do the live performances, and this being people that want to help facilitate other artists' live performances. So it's going to be a lot of like scenarios dealing with, talking about like preparing sessions for the Grammys or for an arena tour, or however many outputs, and just there's all different kinds of scenarios that people perform in. And that sometimes they just have playback, sometimes there's just vocal effects, sometimes they have playback and keyboards and controllers and all this stuff. And so we're gonna definitely help anyone who fits the bill, to level up their skills and be able to get a foot in the door of this world. So it's really exciting because I've never done anything like this before, and so it's gonna be an experiment. But I've had a lot of interest from people throughout the years that said, "When are you? When can I come train with you? Like, when can I come?" And I'm like, I'm so busy. I've been doing my thing, but now that I'm not touring as much and doing out on the road myself, I kind of have shifted gears a little bit. So yeah.
That's cool. So it's kind of like the training that you would give people normally, would you say? Like that work for you for the company? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, we're not it's a course that you can take, so
Mhm.
it's not necessarily like something that I'm going to promise anyone that, hey, I'm going to get you a job at the end of this. But it's
Yeah.
like, but if you do the work and you excel, and there's synergy there, then there is a potential. So it is definitely like exactly kind of like
Mm.
the work that I've done with every person, just one on one. So I, for instance, Panda, who has been touring with The Weekend, I met him in New York. I think around the same time. Yeah, remember we were
I
performing at
saw him
that.
play at was it Goodbye Blue Monday maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like one
yeah,
of the last shows I think they had there. This is a
yeah,
neat little
yeah,
venue.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we had that residency there, um, in 2012, and I think so. Yeah, early 2012, I'd been on the Jam cruise with the Moog Foundation. They brought me to do a performance and to do a workshop, and I met Ben Hovey, who I'm sure you know, another Ableton certified trainer. His buddy was Panda, who was living in New York, and we just hit it off, and we're doing those shows at Goodbye Blue Monday because I was kind of like spending a lot of time in New York that summer. And uh I was like, "Hey, like, do you want this weird job with The Weekend?" And he was like, "Who?" Like, that time, The Weekend was just
Yeah,
like, you know, small. And he was like, "Yeah." Like, I was like, "You know Ableton Live, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." And at the time, I kind of gave him a little bit more credit than I should have because I realized this is a really specific thing. Like
yeah,
if you know how to produce in Ableton and you know, you're doing your work like that is very different from what
sure.
we do in the live touring world. And there's all kinds of like caveats and things and communication stuff. And so at that time, I was a little naive and I just was like, oh, well, it'll just be easy. And then that's when I realized, oh, like this is a whole other training thing. So I sat with him for 2 weeks in rehearsal with the very beginning of the weekend rehearsal. We'd already been working with them for a year before that, but my guy had been leaving at that time. So I was looking for someone new to come in. And I just sat with him for like 2 weeks and I was like, nope, nope, nope.
Hmm.
And I'm sure he hated me, but by the end of it, he was just like flying around and he just picked it up super quickly. And it was awesome. So he started working with them then. And basically, he's just been with them ever since doing all their tracks. And then I think 2 years ago, they asked him to open for them for the weekend as well. So he's been playing his electronic drum setup, opening for the weekend for like 2 years now on a bunch of different tours. So
That's pretty
that's
cool.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's like what I'm super proud of that because, he's a great person and he absolutely deserves it. And, I took him from, you know, place in his life to like this whole other thing, which I love doing. Cause it's like if I meet people that I feel like are talented and have the right attitude and just like are team players and like want to be a part of something, like I've just, I'm willing to invest the time and effort, to bring them on board. And I feel like the people that I have on my team are just incredible. And there's like the really good synergy between everyone. So we're all big nerds.
Yeah, well, I think you have to be, right, to be
Yeah.
into that, because like you said, it
Yeah.
is definitely a different world. I mean, I obviously don't have that experience, but, I know even just from, like, doing my own performances compared to, like, when you're sitting and making your tracks and producing, it's totally different, and it's you have to think about it differently, and, um, I could only imagine, how intense it can get in some of these bigger shows.
Oh
I know
man.
you have, like, backup rigs and, um, there's a lot
Yeah.
riding on what you do. I mean, something goes wrong and it's pretty obvious, you know? So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's important, and when you're playing in front of that many people, it
Definitely.
it better go well, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's another thing is like people have to really, that's why, I meditate. And that's why I do the things that I do because there's hella stress in these shows because it's like
Yeah.
sometimes it's live. I mean, well, it's always live, but then there's like live television or, just all kinds of things that could go wrong. And so, have to like really take a step back before and after and say, like, I got to take care of myself. I can't just freak out. I have to like really, you have to really get your headspace right. That's something that I learned over the years
Mm.
in this game. You gotta definitely take care of yourself and your mental space. So,
Yeah, that'll wear you out, like, night after night, and like you said, like, when you're in, like, a touring position, like that, you're always around, like, celebrations and
oh
partying
yeah,
and, um for me, I've done just a couple like short tours with bands, 2 weeks, up and down the coast in like a van. And
hmm,
every night you're at a bar. Every night you're
yeah,
someplace and then there's people, if they liked what you did, they want to hang out with you. They want to have a good time. And like,
totally.
it's very easy to get sucked into that. And
Well,
it
yeah,
takes a toll fast because it's not
it
like
really
you're
does.
resting well every night. It's not like you're,
No,
in your own bed or anything. You're sometimes even on the floor.
right,
So,
yeah. Well, yeah, and that's really what I try to help my team with. Is dealing with some of that stress, and I think that's a big part of like one of the reasons unknowingly that I created my company is because I'm a big community person and I'm just like always, about banding together like minds and to helping elevate each other. And I think one of the things that I've created through the retreat and with the company is this space for people to come when they're having an issue or they need something, or they're stressed, or something didn't go well, or someone got mad at them, or whatever it is. Like there's just all these variables, and to have a team to kind of come back to and be like, hey, how would you handle this? Like what would you do? And like how should I respond to this? Or just stuff like that. I think it's important. So, and it wasn't even really what I was going for in the beginning, because
Mm.
in the beginning I was just like, I want to clone myself. and, and so now it's just turned into, okay, I've cloned myself a couple times, but now it's like, it just evolved into something that's, much bigger and more purposeful. So,
It
yeah.
seems like any movement that's happened in music, any little pocket that's like grown, it's always community. And it's always
Yeah.
a shame when you run into so many people that are so competitive about it, and they see the other artists, the other bands, the other musicians as their competition. When you get so
Yeah.
much further banding together, working together,
Yeah.
building that
Totally.
community is really important, and to have like that network of people, if something good happens to one, it kind of just raises the water for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
brings everybody
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, absolutely, and I've definitely realized that. I think I had a little bit of that, when I was younger, because I was like really more protective over, my knowledge and
Hmm.
stuff. But now I'm just like, what do you want to know? Like reach out. Let's help each other. Like no one's gonna do it the same way that I'm gonna do it, and you might bring something to the table that will help me, and that's absolutely been the case with my company, because like I've hired people and brought people on, and they're like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wouldn't have thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing that to my attention, and we're absolutely going to do that this way from now on. So it's cool to collaborate. And I did everything myself for a really long time. Like I was a one woman show. I mean, literally, like my artist thing, like with my business, like everything. And especially in the last year, I actually a year ago started working with this coach, and he was, I've always had this kind of thing about my artist stuff and then my company, and like kind of keeping them separate, and like how does that, how does this all fit in? And he was like, your company is valid, and he's like, and you need to like get help for the things that you don't want to do. And I was just like, I can't afford it, and like this and that. And over the last year, I've just really made steps to just do it. Like I don't know if I can afford this person, but like if they're going to like take some things off of my plate that aren't really my forte, like
Yeah.
scheduling or like invoicing or just all those things that I did forever myself, then that's going to free me up to like do other things, work on my stuff, make more money, bring other people in, build this community more. And so I've just gone for it. I've just been like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Let's find someone to do it, And it's it's scary, but it's also a really good feeling, because now I kind of am starting to kind of get really into the things that I want to be into. And I've realized that I do enjoy building things, and that's like one of my strengths. And it doesn't have to look like, oh, I'm just being an artist all the time, or oh, I'm just running a company all the time. Like it can kind of be like messy and like all over the place, because it doesn't have to be like, I kind of had this idea of like compartmentalizing things in these boxes, and like, oh, if I'm doing my artist stuff, then I can't be like seen as a business person or whatever, these hangups. And I kind of over the past couple of years, especially, I think I've just been like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna do it all and see how it evolves. So it's a good feeling.
Well, maybe to bring us back to Logic, that sounds like kind of more authentic. It's what you're really doing.
Totally. Yeah.
It's more, you're doing what you want to do, and sometimes you're doing this, sometimes you're doing that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
the getting help thing must be huge because, like you said, to be kind of bogged down with the things that you don't want to be doing so much takes away all that time, the precious time that we all have so little of to do the things we actually feel we are best at and that we can add the most to. So it's probably a very good investment to let other people handle
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, now it's kind of freed me up to like work on this course and the retreat. And I've got some shows coming up. And, so it just, it's important, I think, to like let go a little bit because I like to be in control. Like I've realized that about myself, bit of a control freak. I know a lot of musicians out there are like, we just think, oh, we can't find anyone else to do it better than we
You
can
are a
or whatever.
controllerist, right?
I am a
Right?
controllerist. Yeah. I'm a control freak, FREQ. um, but I think letting go of that and just being like, this person might not do it as good as I will do it, but we can get there and, we can work on it. And it's important to not, I still might micromanage everything a little bit, but I'm like letting go of that as well. I'm like, okay, you know what? If it's not all gonna like come crashing down if this one little thing, isn't right or whatever. Like nothing, it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. And I mean, I am a perfectionist and that, it is hard for me to kind of let go in a way, but um I'm a recovering perfectionist, as I like to say. So, I think it's important to kind of find the people that want to help you build something and all work together. And there are those people that don't want to be the leader. They don't like they just want to help another person's vision. And for a while I was like, "Oh, I can't really find these people or I just don't know how to find them." And as soon as I kind of started being more authentic and just being like, "You know what? I'm doing this. I'm like running my company. I'm playing shows. I'm like doing my artist stuff." Then the people started to come in that were the right people. And it's just been kind of starting to flow, it's just been flowing. So it's a nice feeling to be at that place.
Nice. So that's sounds like a tough balance because, of course, it's your company. You want it to run well and you want to make sure everything's good, but it also requires a little bit of you backing off too. And it must be difficult to find out where that line is to step in, know when to step in, and know when to let things kind of be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still very much involved in a lot of the logistics and stuff, but it's that kind of thing that I've kind of taken a step back from and like, okay, like this is your job now, like you're going to handle that. And now I can kind of be more freed up to like build even more,
Hmm.
which is cool. So, yeah. There's all kinds of people in this world
Yeah, that
like,
sounds great.
there's people that are really good at certain things and you just got to find out what you need, and find those people that will help you, whether it's, leading to something bigger, like if it's being a part of a company or being a part of a project or whatever. I mean, that's the thing that for me is most exciting is just collaborating with people and, like our brains, the mind hive or whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
collective brain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get that a lot from teaching. I think you've kind of tapped into this before where um, there is like a tendency sometimes, like, I think it's honestly an insecurity. At least I've seen that in myself where you want to protect what you know, protect your
Right.
knowledge. Like, this is my secret sound, like once I started like letting go of that, I found that I was learning so much more by sharing, and then people add to it, people change it, people alter it, people offer their own things. And it's the same thing, when I teach, whether it's music or high school, it's this thing that, like, the irony of teaching is you do so much learning. It's,
Totally.
I feel like I'm the biggest learner in any class I'm in.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't mean I'm a bad teacher or anything, but it's really a big part of it is to like kind of keep that mind open and like let ideas out and in all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think for a while because I did a lot of teaching early on. Like I became certified in Ableton in 2008. I worked at the company in 2007, 2008. So I was doing a lot of like workshops, master classes, teaching, all that kind of stuff. And then in 2009, 10, that's kind of more when I started getting into the live show world and worked with Cirque du Soleil and then started touring with Kanye and doing all this stuff. And I kind of, for a while, I had sort of this thing about teaching where I was like, I can't, I'm not teaching. People be like, oh, so you're teaching Kanye how to use Ableton Live. And I was like, no, no, I'm just doing it, you know? And so I had this thing, I was like, I can't be teaching anymore because I want people to know that I'm actually doing the thing. You know what I mean? And I think like we had hung out a few years ago. And I remember you were like telling me about when you were really getting your stuff going. And I was like, oh, that's like really cool. And I don't know if I could do anything like that because then it's going to be too confusing. But now, like, I think through all the stuff that I just talked about, it's like kind of come full circle. I'm like, you know what? I'm a great teacher and I actually like to do it. And I learn a lot and then bring people together. And so why not? Like, why not just embrace it and like just do all of the things?
Hmm.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I guess part of how you're building this community by like letting that happen,
Yeah.
by embracing that.
Absolutely.
That's cool. Let me see. Would you have any advice to anybody that's like interested in getting into this world? Because I think it's like kind of cool about it is it's not really. I don't think it's the like first thing people think of when they think of like making like some sort of career with music.
Uh huh.
And it's, like growing up, all I wanted to do was like be a guitar player in a band, touring the world and stuff like that. Um,
Right.
it wasn't until like we started doing a little bit of that you kind of realize some of the realities. I like to stay home a lot. you know,
Right.
um, that's kind of more my speed. But
Yeah.
there are still ways to make use of, especially nowadays with the internet and everything. But um, any thoughts, any advice to somebody that's, like, interested? Because like, what you're doing now, I think is kind of, a sorta, like, new, place for opportunities for people to, like,
Mm
be
hmm.
working on these live shows, being such a big
Yeah.
part of, like, a performance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think you kind of hit the nail in the head when you said, I actually really like to stay at home. And I do too. So that's why I got off the road because I'm like, I want to be at home. But if you want to get into this, you absolutely have to love being away from home. So you want to tour the world and see
Mm,
everything, totally get into this. If you are a homebody and you need like routine and all that kind of stuff, it might not be the thing for you because you could be gone for months at a time. And it's not easy. I mean, depending on the level of the tour that you're on. I mean, any level of tour is not easy. Um, as you get to higher levels of tours, it is cushier. Like there are more hotel rooms, but a lot of times you're sleeping on a bus every night. You're with a lot of random people, and the energies are crazy. So I think that's definitely something to look at because I've trained people and they've gotten out there and they've just been like, I hate this.
mhm.
Like, I do not want to be on the road. Like, I want to be at home with my girlfriend or my boyfriend and, like, you know, that stuff. Like, you have to be prepared to, like, not see your family and your dog for months at a time. And it's hard. I mean, there are some people that have been touring for 30, 40 years. Like, it's crazy. Maybe yeah, like, well, yeah, 30 or 40. I think I know a guy that's been touring close to 40 years, and their number one thing is, like, "I wish I saw my family more," you know?
Mm.
So, it's a it's definitely there's 2 sides of the coin, like, one side is, like, amazing, like, opening and,
Glitz and glamour, yeah.
getting able to see all these crazy places and, all of that and um, learning the skill set. But then there's a flip side of that. So, and then you can do it for a while, like I've done, and then decide I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to do, shows here and there. And, so there's places to go. And I think I've kind of been creating that with my company because I was like, I don't want to tour for months at a time anymore. What do I do now? And it just happened naturally, this evolution. So I don't want to say like you're going to be on the road for the rest of your life, but but you in order for me to invest in someone, I would want them to do it for like a good amount of time.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
sounds like you've realized that, and you've hired people to fill in for you to take over. You've kind of passed the torch a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it is kind of exciting. There's a lot of different ways to do things in this world. One of the things that I personally love is just exploring sound, and that's kind of where I've focused a lot of my energy. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. I do find myself sometimes involved in the stuff that I don't enjoy as much, which is some of the more like a lot of the video editing. Sometimes I don't really, it's not my thing. It's not what I'm into this for. Or just like the promotional stuff. But there's, I guess, like you said, there's always another side to it.
Yeah.
And I think, it's very easy to just like kind of put this like idea way up on some crazy pedestal, which on some levels it is, but there's the other side to it, the flip side.
Yeah. Absolutely. There definitely is. But if you're passionate about it and you want to be out there, I say it's a great career because you can make a lot of money and um you get to see a lot and experience a lot and just be around a lot of interesting people all the time. So there's a lot
Mm,
of pluses.
right. And it sounds like one of the most important qualities is being a team player, working well with others, having the good attitude.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Like all the people that I've hired and trained, they all have really great attitudes. There's not a lot of negativity. So that's really important to me.
I can't think of too many situations in life where that isn't a good quality to have.
Right? I
It's
know.
it, and there's not too many situations where being mean to people helps you out.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or complaining.
Yeah.
There's a lot of complainers, out there on some tours and, just like having a positive attitude, trying to work on it with people and work on whatever the problem is, but not letting it bog you down. Like last week this thing happened and it was just, oh man,
Mm.
let's just this week, this is what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for that, venting, getting it out off your shoulders or something, but it can't
Yeah.
become a way of life. It can't be your default.
No.
You
Yeah,
can't have
yeah.
those thoughts swirling in your head all the time.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Nice.
Definitely.
So where would you direct people to find out more? I'll put some links in the show notes so they can find out
Oh,
more. If
perfect.
they're in Master Track is in LA. This thing you're doing in March.
Yep. Yep. It's in LA.
Okay.
You could find out about that through the electroniccreatives.com website. Basically, if you go to my website, lauraescudé.com, it'll kind of take you to the three different websites that I have. And Yeah, that main site is just kind of like overarching work that I've done with different artists and speaking and my work with Ableton and all that kind of stuff. And then the Alux site is just strictly music stuff, performance based stuff. There's a lot of cool videos and music on there. And then the EC one is the company one. So
Hmm.
lots of stuff. And then I'm Alux Music on all the socials. So
Okay.
people can find me there.
Nice. And I'll put
Yeah.
all that stuff in so people
Awesome.
can check it out.
Great.
Well, thank you very much for doing this. We'll say our goodbyes now
Yeah.
and then we'll wrap up afterwards. Again, this is Laura Escudé, makes music as Alux, CEO of Electronic Creatives. doing a lot of impressive, cool work out there. I'm sure you've probably come across some of it, whether you know it or not, as whether you're behind the curtain or something.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Brian.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening.